One of the things that's nice about doing my job, being an executive producer director, is that it is my job to sort of oversee the look of the show and make sure that the direction of the show from director to director, week to week, is consistent. You know, I think that the first thing for me is that I do look at it as a whole, and I try to get a sense of the story and the flow of it. You know, what's the sort of ebb and flow of the storytelling, not only from a pure dramatic standpoint, but also from an emotional standpoint. And I think that's the most important thing about films in general, and it's probably even more paramount in television, where you have, you know, roughly 40 to 43 minutes to tell a story, is that, you know, you want to sort of make sure that the audience is emotionally invested in the piece.
You win, Michael. You both win, because it's all just a game.
I think people would be amazed at how quickly we turn around from episode to episode. Generally, our episodes are 8 days. We'll start out on the first day or two of prep, and we'll concentrate on what we call our story meeting, our concept meeting, and then our location sort of scouting. And on the first day, typically we'll come in, hopefully we have a script on that first day of prep. The director will show up. If it's not myself, you know, our guest director will show up. And the first thing we'll do is all sit down and read the script. We sit down and we talk about the issues that are involved, whether they be production and or story issues. For the next 2 to 3 or 4 days, we are doing a couple of things. Predominantly, we're scouting locations. On a show like this, locations were a primary concern. It's a big show. Again, we covered a lot of ground. So we needed to make sure that we had the right locations.
The location we're looking at right now will actually be the finale of the series, the last shot of the series that's going to air on network television, so it's kind of important.
Well, I'm gonna, you know, that'll be my alley, and then, you know, let's walk down here.
The hardest thing to do is building some kind of picket fence.
After Sarah has obtained the stuff that she needs to help Lincoln out, we'll have our Escalade parked right here, as a matter of fact, guys. It will be facing out that way, so Michael will be in the driver's seat here. He'll keep his eye on the entrance there. Lincoln will be in the back, so the exchange between Michael and Lincoln will be over the seat. Lincoln will be in the back. When Sarah comes out, she'll get into the rear, and then our bad guys will break the right passenger front window where no one is sitting.
Good call.
Good call, yeah. It all depends on how everybody behaves. Yeah. Somebody's driving me crazy, I'll put them in that seat. So those are the two things that we do outside. Everything else is inside. So we should go inside and look at that.
That's
the first scene. We'll have these double doors closed. We'll have a crash cart come smashing through here. We'll drag the crash cart all the way into the room. So crash cart in here. Self will be on the bed here. It's the same thing that we did in the last episode. So whatever we have there is what we'll have. We still have Sarah go by. Boom, here's the exchange. Oh, yeah. He continues, and I think Sarah should continue around. I think she should continue down the hall and disappear. And then what we'd like to do is, so that we can keep this whole area as sort of our hero area, we'd like to, after she's changed the lab coat, she comes back in here, and this becomes the access to the medicine cart. And then obviously when the guys come out and arrest him, we'll probably do that somewhere in this area, either up against this wall, So when Sarah comes through, she'd walk right by him. The convalescent home that we find
Scene 53.
Don Self, scene 53. So wheelchair, he'll be here looking out the window. Camera will be back there, raking all these windows, push in there, push in from out there where Gary is to a nice big fat close-up of Don Self. Exactly, and Don's your uncle.
We were gonna put some signage right here of some sort.
You mean something like
Maybe
cafeteria?
cafeteria,
Yeah.
but in blue.
Yes.
Now, do we want the nurse? We talked about the nurse or not the nurse to wipe the drool, or if we just wanted him by himself.
We should have the nurse here, just in case that beat works. Yeah.
If you've got dreams in your heart.
This is the obviously the conference room for you know, when they bring Michael in. And also when they bring everybody together, basically where everybody signs the official paperwork that brings the whole Scylla thing to a conclusion. So that'll be in here. You know, obviously our hero angle is sort of like this.
And this is it.
There'll be some follow-up interviews, but this is it.
In 7 days, which, you know, as I said, is a pretty short amount of time, we're standing this thing up on its feet and getting it ready to go in front of camera.
right.
And then at that point, I begin to look at individual scenes and really look at what I think is the next most critical thing is transitions. I think that, you know, particularly in television, where you know that you are going to go to a close-up within moments of seeing, you know, the wide shot, establish where you are, and then maybe see something, you know, moving into your master, and then suddenly you know you're going to go to close-up. And so what you really have after that are your transitions. And I think if you can find clever ways into scenes and clever ways out of scenes, it does a lot to sort of give it a uniform and a stylized feel.
In 2 minutes, your eyeballs are gonna pop out of your head. Now that's worse than death.
And then I start to really break them down dramatically and make sure that it makes sense. Make sure that each piece of dialogue is contributing to and moving the story forward. And I think that process starts right from the beginning that you read it. You start to process that. But I think after those other two things are sort of established, you want to revisit that again because you know, actors will come in and they are going to apply their own logic and their thinking and their process to it. And you want to be able to answer those questions confidently. And you want to be on the same page as them. And the reality is you really want to get out in front of those questions before they become questions. And so, you know, those are the things I try to do and to really make sure that it's making sense and that it is efficiently done and we don't have a lot of excess. And I think basically those are the kinds of things that I look at. And then, you know, within that, obviously, with a director's eye, you want to try to find ways of expressing your visual ideas that are compelling. And I think that happens in a number of ways, either through prep and thinking about it, you know, using your imagination, but also on the set when you get there with the actors and with the DP and all those pieces start to come together. The line when Padman tells them to let Sophia go, siren should start. So you just in your own head, just imagine the size.
And you have a misfire in the one round, then you're finished. Because it's not going to chamber, it's not going to do anything.
All right, so if he clicked it,
Yeah.
and she said misfire,
Yeah,
meaning
right.
you got,
Right.
how unlucky can you get?
Right.
Oh, that could work.
There you go. I'm thinking that'll give you at least some drama.
Yeah, right.
You can't do it, can you? Oh, dear. Misfire.
On this show, not only do we have a number of people in the scenes, but we generally will have some element of action included in that. So what we're really doing is dealing with the scene within a scene, because you've got the dialogue part of it, and then you've got the fight sequence. So it is a difficult thing. You have to be fairly smart about, and you have to prioritize. I think you have to look at it and determine what the most important elements of the scene are. What is the scene about? And you know, quite frankly, I had an example of that today where, you know, I didn't have an awful lot of time. There were two important elements to the scene I was shooting. With another element that I thought, oh, if I could get that subtext into the scene, that would be great. But ultimately, I had to decide to stick with what that scene was trying to do on its very fundamental level and let the other part of it go. And I think that's sometimes what gets us in trouble, is when we try to blanket cover everything. And you know, I've been known to tell actors sometimes, you know, they'll ask me about a specific blocking, and I'll say, well, the reason I've put you behind that person is because when I go to a close-up of that person, I'm gonna see you in the background, which buys me 2 for 1. I don't now have to do a specific shot of you just to get your reaction. Where do you wind up, sir?
Where do I wind up where?
When, after the shootout, where do you settle? On the blue mark?
Yeah.
Great, okay. I may, you know what, just step forward a little bit just so that you can clear for that camera, so you're not behind the pillar, okay? Television, you know, requires a certain amount of efficiency and cleverness, if you will, and ingenuity in terms of how you're gonna do that. And you know, it's a talent, it really is. But I think it's something that comes with experience. At least I hope it does. Okay, good, all right, thank you.